Okay, the next activity in this lesson is called a stand and talk. Students in their pre-work for the lesson would have been asked to think about what is math and to ask others about it. And so they would do a stand and talk with that, in which they take whatever notes they have from their assignment, and they would go and walk at least 12 steps to find a partner that's not at their table. And of course, if you're doing this virtually, we could do breakout rooms of 2. We're not going to take the time to do that today. Instead, we're going to show you another way that you could share some of this thinking virtually, maybe as more of a, if students did the breakout rooms or pairs talk, what it would look like as a group, a whole group afterwards, thinking about what is math. And so I'm going to invite you to take just a moment using the annotate feature, maybe text, and try not to stomp on each other too much and write on top of each other, but put in a word or two, a phrase about what you think, what is math. One strategy for you if you're working with students is, if you want them to not run into each other on a board like this, is you could assign each student a number and then assign put a number in each one of these boxes. And so each student has their own box to write in, but they can still do it if they don't share their numbers with each other. They can still do it somewhat anonymously. So we have patterns, sure. Making sense of the world, language, I don't know. The ability to problem solving skills. And one of the things that you're going to have to recognize in something like this is that you're going to get positive answers, and you're also going to get some that suggest what their true perspective is, that some students will think of positive things to say, and some will also express the frustration or difficulties that they've had in the past. The one caution you do want to make on this is make sure that you have those group norms really strong, so that students are only sharing things that you want shared. There are multiple different tech tools that you can use to do something like this, and some of them do have filters on them, so that if you're a little concerned about student voice or language, that you can control that. So thinking abstractly by applying knowledge to solve problems. I like that one. Quantitative representation, identifying relationships. Wow, y'all sound like teachers. All right, thank you. All right, so what it might look like when it came from students might be a little bit briefer, quick, short answers. So things like this. Depending on what your students come up with, you can have a great discussion around this, but you can also reflect on the idea that in this class, we're really going to try and build that definition of what math is, that it's not just about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and hopefully that it's not boring all the time, and it's not just fractions, okay? But it's some of those other rich definitions that you shared for me before on the previous slide. And then maybe commit to later in the year looking at this again and seeing how their opinions have changed. Okay, and from there, you would move into the Standards for Mathematical Practice activity, which was originally designed as a card activity and a jigsaw. We rethought that one to do it as a Desmos activity that you did as part of your group work, part of your pre-work, and you could do that with students as well. There is no answer key provided for the Desmos, and that was done intentionally because more important than getting it into the right category is that students will be able to justify why they put it in that category. So this activity takes on a whole new level of using standard 3 of constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reasoning of others by doing it in this format. So you could have a conversation of, well, I put trying another strategy in under number 1, and you put it in under number 2. And why did we put it that way? So really good conversation that could come out of that. And this is a Desmos activity. I want to give you a little bit of guidance. When you have an activity like this, what you're going to do is you're going to look for an opportunity to make your own copy of these activities. And so, for example, if you click on the 3 dots here, when you pull up the Desmos link, then you want to select copy and edit. And as soon as you do that, it allows you to create a class code, and you can work with your students that way. It's a really good idea to download and make copies of all of these things so that you don't inadvertently edit a master document. Most of them you can't, but as materials become available and we share them, you're always going to want to make your own copy. So download it, make your own copy, save it to your system, whatever that is, before you work with it with students.